Welcome to the Crypto Day Morning, first day of October, first day of the fourth quarter, 2018. Welcome to the Money Charts channel, all bets, trades of the like, within one's own risk reward. Not much really going on here within Bitcoin, at least not within the daily term. So let's that is the first day of October. Let's take a look at the quarterly time frame for some charts, and we'll even expand past the crypto market. Not many quarters to go over. There hasn't been as much history, of course, within Bitcoin. It's starting to develop a nice looking chart. We got several periods within the 18 average now. Some big green candles, or big high volatile ones. This one here had a low of 1277 and a high of 97. So that's like a 7-ish x, 8x return from low to high. Here the low was 85, the high was 1163. Much greater than a 10x move. This high in here on the final quarter of last year had a low of 4100 and change, which is where, so last year it price at this time was 4,326. So it's up 50% year over year right now. Of course, that's going to change dramatically as we move forward. But a differential here of over about 5x, about a 5x move, almost 4.5 times greater move. But then we have some lower ones. In here we have a low of 380, a high of 738, about 80-90%. And I'm taking high minus low divided by low. Differential here for a low of 950 and a high of close to $14 is about almost 4.5. So less than 50% on this low volatile session, which was followed by an up move. Then we had some low ones in here. This one here had a low of 210 and a high of 268. So a differential of 58 points. That was only about 25%. Two consecutive low volatile sessions, which pretty much closed right in the area of where the March 31st close was. But this one had a low of 57.74. This was quarter number 2, and a high near 10,000. So a differential of about 4,200 points. That's again about an 80-ish% move. And this is very low volatile for 3 months. And then the previous one, a low below 6,000, a high around 8,500. So that would be a differential of about 2,600 or so. So under 50% volatility for this quarter. And what's important to note with all charts is going to be normal volatility, high volatility, and lower volatility. Thus, we're going to move back into higher volatile period moves. Question is, will it come with decent sized correctionary situations in here? We have an 18 average of lows, which is at about 3,000 now. Interestingly enough, 3,049 is the exact opening number. That number would only decline if there was a decline in price, but that does match up within the 3,000 key area of support if that was the case. But that in itself, depending on where the high would be, could only make maybe 150% volatility. But if this thing goes up to the upside, breaks this high, and we have like a decent size, say 3-4x move, say we have a low around 6,000 on 4, I mean, we could have 24,000 by the end of the quarter. And if we have like one of those 7-8x moves, I'm not saying that's the technical analysis or definitely not the probability odds, but not a surprise if something like that were to occur. And 7x from 6 would be about 42,000. So to say that it would be a shock if Bitcoin's at all-time highs when Christmas and the New Year's comes, not so much, no. Quick look at Ethereum now against with the US dollar, the Tether on Poloniex exchange, and a decent, I mean, not many periods, not even an 18 average on here. The last one, not so volatile, pretty much maybe average, a low of 168, a high of 515. This one in here, a low of almost $1 and a high of 15. This one, a low of 8, high of 54. Then a low of 41, a high of 400. So could this be 2,000 or 1,500 by the end of the year? Wouldn't surprise me either way. No, would not surprise me. Okay, let's move off cryptos and move this into the Dow Industrials. It hasn't started its new candle. It's not quite nine. The market hasn't opened yet. It had a low of 24,000 and a high of 26,000 and change. So a differential of about 2,700 points. That's about 11%. I mean, the volatility in the Dow Jones is going to be nothing compared to the crypto. One of its higher volatile sessions here, a low of 7,500 and a high of about 11,000. So a differential of about 50% volatility. But overall, this thing keeps going up, and well, part of that is because of the inflation and the fact that I can show this many periods. And they have all of this data going back to 1914. No, little bit over 1 century, over 100 years. To me is just magnificent. And again, overall trend, it's broken this resistance. It's still hanging well above the 18 average. No evidence yet for this is too top. In fact, if anything, when you have this green candle, the two sideways and the green one going back to previous resistance, I'm looking for at least one more leg higher. Let's look next at gold. And the fact that it starts here in 1997. I know why it's the comics and everything, but it should be easier to find good charts that show data really going back to 1968 even. I have the data myself. It's not hard. It's all posted. LBMA in 1968 started posting it. Its 1980 high was about 850. Pulled back down to this low here about 250, and it's been just merely going sideways, correcting through time since this low back in 2013, and it's been a decent amount of time, but even longer when we compare it to silver, as its high is close to a decade now, April of 2011. There's only 1 year and 3 months or 4 quarters left in the decade as we move into the 20s. Thereafter, within its 3-month chart, it has been resisting this 18 average for several quarters, about 8, looking to leave such. Are we going to see lower prices, possibly retest the 2008 lows question mark? I don't know. If there is, I'll be very curious to see how much it's actually going to cost, percentage-wise, over the spot price compared to now, where it's not that expensive over a spot, and it hasn't been for quite some time to buy generic rounds like the Sunshine Mints and the Buffaloes, and there's so many to choose from. And even the government mints, the Canadian Maple, Silver Eagles, Philharmonics, and all of the likes, aren't that expensive. So I'd be curious to see if, of course, and only if it goes down there, but this would be a time, especially if cryptos go higher. If that would be like the gold mine for me, no pun intended, when we talk about precious metals, that if it comes down here, cryptos go higher, that, oh, let's just buy some silver. And then next thing you know, this starts to go up again because markets go up, markets go down. Again, don't have all the data in here. Going back to 1980, they had a high of about $50.50 to 52 is what it sounded like it was around. I have a timestamp price of 50.5. That's from the LBMA. So it came up and it came close, piercing below previous highs from 1980. That just tells me the strong length of quote-unquote manipulation that has been in place within the silver market going on during the entire lifespan of everybody alive. It's been manipulated pretty much from the entirety. And I'll be interested to see as time moves on, and it could take a while as we move into the 20s, as more fraud gets exposed within LBMA, not LBMA, but the price fixing. Of course, we're talking about, in this case, derivatives. And it's in the case for the entire market system, but silvers seem to be very aggressive towards such. Let's take next look at crude oil. And I got some Fibonacci lines, which would represent 76.4, 61.8, and 38.2%. We got the lows in at the 1980s, 86, $10. We got a high from 2008. So now we're talking about 10 years in this example. Volatile sell-off lower, and then the size of the movements here, high of 102, low of 35, so about a 3x move on a high volatile period. And then this failed rally, which had a decent sized sell-off again, but has recovered it nicely, getting above the 18 average of highs, and had a nice pause quarter over the last summer. 4 green candles up, which started from the 18 of lows, which was declining at the time. The second and the third one was enough to flatten it out. The next one got the band rising and had overall gain from $43 up to about 75, and a nice bullish candle to follow that type of move. So I'm going to, even though they could very easily still correct within this 18 a bit more in a bullish situation, I wouldn't be surprised if it can make a move into the 90s in this previous congestion area. Of course, all trades, bets, and of the like is within one's own risk reward. But thank you for tuning in to today's video, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.